Okay, this story really hits me hard because I had a cousin who had Down syndrome, and she was the sweetest, most innocent, loving person I've ever known, and wasn't judgmental. I mean, this is just sad, and if YouTube wants to take this down, go ahead. But I think everybody should see this report, and it's really sad. So anyway, peace out, and this is just absolutely disturbing to me.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Chris Salcedo Show. The China virus pandemic has impacted the lives of billions of people. Not only have we struggled to fight against the virus itself, but also against the corrupt interests that may be trying to use the China virus to their advantage, both monetarily and politically. Here with me now is one man who tragically lost his daughter to the China virus, Scott Schara. Scott, first off, my deepest condolences to you and your family. It is awful to deal with such a loss of a child anytime, but this close to the holidays and Christmas just breaks my heart. Your daughter, Grace, was hospitalized with the China virus in October. What happened at the hospital?
Well, we got into the emergency room on October 6th. They did a CT scan, which showed that she was negative for blood clotting, which was good. The ER doctor suggested that we admit Grace to the hospital for 3 to 4 days, maybe a week. I stayed with her as an advocate, ended up getting kicked out of the hospital by an armed guard on Sunday. It was Wednesday when she came in. During that period of time she was there, we rejected the request to have her put on a ventilator 5 different times. Ultimately, after the last denial of a ventilator, they chose to label her do not resuscitate, even though she had her best day the day before. She was on the way up and out. They proceeded to give her a series of meds on October 13th. And ultimately she died at 6:27, 2 months ago today.
Well, you've given me a lot to chew on here. Let me just take this step by step. You shared the timeline of the medications that were administered to your daughter. From your notes, she was given a course of sedatives, morphine and such. Why do you think that was significant?
Well, no one could survive that combination of meds. If you know anything about package inserts, which are the rules of engagement for these meds, the morphine package insert has a black box label that says specifically to not combine it with a drug like lorazepam and Precedex, and they in fact combined it with both of those drugs the last day. In fact, the last several hours.
Something else you stated that caught my attention. You said the doctors labeled Grace with a do not resuscitate order. Did Grace have a DNR order filed by you, or her parents, her legal guardians? Did you guys do anything like that?
We did not. I don't understand how us being power of attorney that we didn't have to be part of that process, sign off on something. All we denied was the use of a ventilator.
Good grief. I'm not a lawyer, sir, but my understanding is a DNR has to be, it can't be instituted by the hospital itself. It has to be done by the legal guardians of a child or an adult of sound mind and entering into that type of thing. It has long been noted that the China virus reimbursement programs for hospitals may play a role in skewing their reported death rates. Last year, for example, a Florida man died in a motorcycle crash, was counted as a China virus death. Sadly, as politicians and greed have dominated this pandemic, the lines between dying with the China virus and dying from the China virus have been terribly blurred, irresponsibly blurred. What was your experience, sir?
Well, I don't know that it was blurred in Grace's case because they put on the death certificate that she died of COVID. And the fact is she died of negligence. And when we study the records, we think it's gross negligence, but proving that's another matter. So the death certificate gives them a license for government payouts, as you're well aware. And we, as Grace's parents, my wife and I, we can get $9,000 from FEMA in reimbursement of the funeral costs. Fortunately, we're not going to do that. My wife calls it, or she said, we're not going to take their dirty money, and she's right.
Was there any financial incentive you become aware of that the hospital that you happen to be dealing with had because of China virus, because of patients who have the China virus?
The hospital will receive $13,000 by labeling a death COVID. I see in studying it why they kept pestering us to put her on a ventilator, because they get a $39,000 bonus by putting a patient on a ventilator. And then, of course, they get the daily hospital rate. And so it ends up approaching $300,000 that the hospital gets once they convince a patient or their advocate to put them on a ventilator. And Grace didn't need a ventilator any more than a hole in the head. She was improving every day. It was crazy, these requests.
Mr. Shara, in your opinion, is the financial system that we have set up to handle this pandemic, is it set up to help patients or something else?
Unfortunately, it's set up for something else. It shouldn't matter what the financial repercussions are, but this combination of denying advocacy along with these government bonuses, it creates, and then you add in immunity from liability, it creates a temptation that it seems like these hospitals submit to. And certainly the hospital that Grace was in submitted to it. It was beyond belief what we experienced, me as an advocate, and then my daughter Jessica took over as an advocate a day and a half after I was kicked out. And the things that we saw and witnessed are beyond belief. And so just think about what it's like when an advocate isn't there.
It's heartbreaking. Mr. Shara, the entire team here at the Chris Salcedo Show, our thoughts and prayers in this time in your grief are with you, and please keep us posted as to what happens. I have a feeling you're going to continue your research, and we'll be more than happy to get you back on the Salcedo Show. Thank you, sir.
Have you noticed that as everything around you seems to decline, one thing still grows? It is the power of your rulers. None of their plans and directives have solved your problems or made your life better. The only result has been their increased control over you at the cost of your freedom. Do you know why? You gave them the power.